I don't know where I went or who took me, but definitely I was abducted. I just don't know by whom or what. I have no idea what happened. But I do know that there's some type of a portal here. It's not just me. There's other people that were children at the time that had the same thing that happened to them.
What you just heard is the voice of Melanie Kirchdorfer, a woman who believes that she has been abducted by aliens. Although decades later, she is still trying to make sense of what really happened to her. We're about to go on a journey with Melanie, diving deep into the details of her extraordinary story, while visiting some of the locations where these occurrences took place. We will also hear from other abductees who claim to have similar experiences, to try and get to the truth about what may have happened to these individuals. But before we get into this very nuanced and eerie topic, I need to provide some context that's necessary to truly understand these stories and what they could mean. And our journey takes place in my home state, Massachusetts. Where do I even begin? I've been interested in this topic of UFOs and extraterrestrials for several years now, just intuitively knowing that there's 200 billion stars out there and that we are such a tiny speck in this grand scheme of the universe. I just had this feeling that there's no way we're the only life form. The topic of UFOs, now referred to as UAPs, once unidentified aerial phenomena, now called unidentified anomalous phenomena. For a long time, this topic was something that was laughed at, and now everything has changed, that our own US government is coming out and saying, actually, this is a real thing that has been studied by the government for years and years. At this point, there have been thousands to hundreds of thousands of UAP sightings all over the world. This is not just something that's happening in America. This is a big misconception. Earlier this summer, we had the congressional hearing where there were 3 people who testified before Congress about this topic, all of whom were high-standing military officials, 2 Navy pilots and 1 Air Force major and commander who worked on the UAP program for the government for a number of years. This is something that real humans are experiencing, having encounters with extraterrestrials. The more you start to look into this deeper, you will see that it's not just a couple people who are claiming that they have had encounters with ETs or have been abducted. It's a lot of people out there. And there was even a psychiatrist from Harvard named John Mack who spent his life studying these cases.
Nothing in my 40 years of working with people prepared me for this phenomenon. People are witnessed to be missing. A child, for example, goes in to find her mother during the time the mother's having an abduction experience. The mother's not there. Child tells the mother in the morning, "Mom, I went into your room, you weren't there." No one has, in spite of what critics say, anything to gain, as far as I can tell from this. Nobody wants to be a member of this club. These are people of sound mind, healthy people. By and large, they've been traumatized, many of them, by these experiences, but they're reporting in great detail narratives that are highly similar, which they have not gotten from the media. They come forth reluctantly. The fact that thousands of people are having the same images, doubting it, telling it with a great emotional power, that's not the way hallucinations work. And the only thing that I know that behaves like that is real experience, where something has actually happened to these people. Then the question is, what has happened?
So a couple of years ago, I watched this documentary episode about a mass UFO sighting that happened in Berkshire County, Massachusetts on September 1st, 1969, where about 250 people in the town, in the county, across a couple of different towns, saw and witnessed this craft, this UFO, UAP. A lot of strange things happened that night to several members of the town. And actually, this was signed by the governor of Massachusetts as being recognized as a historically accurate and significant event. And there was a group of children who say to this day that they remember being abducted when they're now in their 60s. It's very easy to laugh at that and to think that they're probably just crazy, but I feel like it would be ignorant to just dismiss it and not actually go and listen to these people. So after watching this episode, I told my friend Amar from Yes Theory about this, and Amar watched the episode, episode, it has led to a absolute rabbit hole of a exploration of this topic. So Amar says to me, I really want to go to Massachusetts and talk to these people. We're going to make a video for Yes Theory. Do you want to join? I said, absolutely. I would love to talk to these people as well. So almost 3 years ago now, we went out to Berkshire County and we interviewed several people of the town who witnessed this craft, and we heard their stories. One of these people was Melanie. And Melanie's story really touched us. It really struck us because of how traumatized she was by this and how she had been carrying this for years and years. For so long, she never talked about it because her family told her she was making it up. She shut it away. She only told very few people about it, and then later in her life she kind of started to talk about it again. Melanie's case is fascinating because it also has affected her health in a number of ways. For example, she's been struck by lightning 3 times. Earlier this summer, Amar and Stefan from Yes Theory came back to Massachusetts to go see Melanie again because they actually were at the congressional hearing that happened on Capitol Hill. They actually spent several days with David Grusch, the main whistleblower who has come out and is really a big reason why all of this disclosure is happening in the media. So Amar calls me up. He's like, we're going to see Melanie. Do you want to come? We went to go see her and we spent probably 4 hours talking to her, just diving into so many different topics. And I just really felt for her and everything she's been through. I'm going back to hang out with her and I'm going to stay the night. And my intention is really to just get to know her deeper and really just listen to how she wants to share her story. And as crazy as it seems that somebody's claiming they have been abducted by aliens, I just feel that it's so ignorant of me to sit here and say she's crazy, she's wrong, she's making it up. This is her experience of reality, not mine. Alrighty, we are going on a road trip. Berkshire County, here we come. Hi, Doki. Hi, do you remember me? Hi!
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you, Melanie, for having me. Melanie is
It's a
an
pleasure.
angel.
It's a pleasure.
And
to
she
have
lives
you.
in a beautiful fairy cove. Oh, it smells so good. I remember last time we came, the smell was
Don't
just...
worry about your shoes, honey, right now.
After being a part of the episode with Netflix, Melanie decided to stop doing all media and interviews and only agreed to share her story with me because she feels safe to do so. If you find yourself jumping straight to skepticism and judgment, I think that's very normal. However, my invitation is for you to open your minds and listen to Melanie's story with curiosity and compassion. And then by the end of this video, you can create an informed opinion on what you think may have happened to her and the others we will hear from. So let's go back to where this sort of all started. I know that you were having experiences as a young child, but the event on September 1st, 1969 is kind of how we met, is because I witnessed your story through the Netflix show. Can you briefly just describe what happens on that night?
That day, my sister and I were working at the Mahawi Theater. We were just kids, but we were pretty wild for kids. We were free spirits. We wanted to go smoke cigarettes after we got out of work from cleaning. And we left after cleaning. We went up to Penny Rock. It was this round rock up in the woods where we'd hide and smoke cigarettes. And then my parents caught us coming out of the woods because it was right in front of the house and said, get in the car, we're going to go. Got in the car, we went, got ice cream, backed in. All of a sudden, my father said, holy shit. And this big, bright light came over the lake, and it was huge. I mean, giant. It was like an amber bronze glow, and it covered the whole lake. It was giant. But there were also these weird lights in the center of it, like these weird colors that I can't even explain what the colors were, because they were just a weird color that was going around the middle of it. You're so shocked that you're in awe, but For me, it had happened before this glow so many times that I knew they were coming for me. And I was scared, and everybody was screaming in the car, but my father was excited because he wanted to chase it. And I remember going, "No, Dad, no, please don't." And my mother was saying, "No, Joe, don't, no, don't." And everybody was screaming. And then the next thing I remember is he started the car up, and I remember being levitated and that feeling of levitation. After that, I just remember being on a table. I don't know if it was a spacecraft. I don't know if it was a building. It was just a table, and I remember it being a metallic glass type space with this red amber light, but I also remember the glass almost like glass cubes. After that, I remember being in a room with a whole bunch of children, and they were from young children up to teenage. I didn't recognize any of the faces. Then I just remember waking up on the lake with really bad stomach pain. Oh, I remember walking home, and I'll take you there. I remember walking on the dirt road to get home, and my mother's door was unlocked that day. It was like 5:30 in the morning when the sun is just starting to come up, so it was dark.
When you woke up on the lake,
They were
on
gone.
the beach, do you remember what you felt or anything you remembered, or was your memory wiped?
I knew something had happened, definitely, and I was in a lot of pain in my stomach.
You just didn't know what
I
had
just
happened.
didn't know where my parents were. It's like, where are my parents? Where's my sister? Where's my brother?
So you walk home, the door's unlocked, you go back into bed, your sister's there, and then what happened after? Did you end up telling your parents?
And I was told, don't ever talk about it. Don't ever discuss this again. It never happened. Don't talk about it. This is all in your head.
What did they say was the light?
That it
you
was
all
a
saw?
shooting star. We were told for years that it was a shooting star.
It seems like a big, giant shooting star that
Yeah.
wasn't shooting, it was hovering, right?
Right. My mom had contacted me and said, "Can you do me a favor? Can you contact the Historical Society and tell them what happened to you?" And I said, "What do you mean? The time that we saw the shooting star?" And she said, "Well, it was a little bit more involved than that. It was the whole UFO situation." And I said, "Mom, you told me that all of that was in my head." And she goes, "Well, it really wasn't. We just didn't want people to think you were crazy." And I said, "You're telling me that now, after all these years?" She goes, "Well, nobody really wanted to talk about it back then."
This was not the first time that this happened to you. This had been happening throughout your childhood.
My whole childhood.
So we're going to take a tour through your past today.
That's what we're going to do. We're also going to be able to hopefully talk to an astronomer that lives around here and has had some same experiences. And Wendy, who you've met, she's had some experiences as well. And I want to show you Monument Mountain and take you around to Cherry Street, where there's a lot of phenomena.
Throughout history, signs of extraterrestrial encounters have puzzled humanity. Ancient civilizations, from the Mayans to the Egyptians, etched intricate carvings and petroglyphs that seemingly depict flying objects and celestial visitors. It's challenging to say when the first ever extraterrestrial encounter happened, but the oldest documented account in the US dates back to 1639 in none other than Massachusetts. John Winthrop, co-founder and governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, detailed an account in his journal that was shared to him by a man named James Everell and two others. While rowing on the muddy river, they witnessed a great light darting back and forth in the sky, moving as swift as an arrow. They said this light danced between them and Charlestown for hours. Stranger still, their boat was inexplicably moved a mile upstream. This mysterious encounter in Boston Harbor marked an early chapter in America's storied history with UFOs. You know, you were told by your parents for all those years that it wasn't happening, and then years later, when you were in your 50s or 60s, they tell you need to go report your experience to the Historic Society, and that must have been shocking to you that they admitted it.
It was really hurtful. And then when my friend Patty called me up and told me that it had happened to her sister Kelly too, it was like, oh my God. And this was just a couple of streets over. It's like, wow. And then when Chris called and it had been happening to him,
right,
it was like, wow. And nobody talked about it. None of us talked about it.
the fact that this has happened to so many people in this area, and that this mass sighting happened on that night, that kind of exposed it in a way. Like, there just has to be something going on here.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Up behind here is East Mountain. There's a lot of UFO activity up behind that mountain.
When was the first time you can remember this happening?
I remember being taken on Russell Street. I remember them coming into my room, this little gray thing. Then this thing would take me up to this attic that was in my bedroom, like levitate me up through the attic and out the attic window and down the Housatonic River, levitating. And I can still remember the back, specifically Melvin's Pharmacy, the back of Melvin's Pharmacy. So clear.
So this is when you were how old? Did you recall this starting?
My whole childhood.
Our first stop is Russell Street, the site of Melanie's earliest abduction memories. While her childhood home is off limits, her friend Kristen lives a few houses down now.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Intriguingly, when Kristen moved to Russell Street years ago from California, she started having strange dreams linked to this phenomena and parts of Melanie's story long before even knowing Melanie or anything about the area's UFO history.
See if you can just pick which house it was. Let's just see if she can pick.
Is it the yellow one?
That's too weird.
It is? It's the yellow one?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is too weird.
I've never seen the street. I didn't know anything about. There's something,
That is
an energy
just
there.
bizarre.
How does it feel to be here again?
Well, I'm not in that house.
Would it be hard for you to walk into that house, do you think?
I wouldn't want to stay there.
She had a hard time going in my house.
Another strange synchronicity I learned is that the first time Melanie and Kristen met was when Melanie arrived at Kristen's home to shoot the Netflix episode, as the producers had chosen Kristen's house for the set, not knowing that Melanie's first abduction memories had happened just a few houses down. Melanie was shocked that her interview was happening on Russell Street and struggled to go into Kristen's home. Several years prior, in 2015, without knowing anything about Melanie's story or the Berkshire UFO sighting, is when Kristen experienced a very strange dream that we're about to hear.
Can you describe again what this journal entry is?
Well, it was intended to be a gratitude journal where I list what I'm grateful for. And on that particular morning after this dream, I wrote down the dream because it was so odd.
And when did this dream come to you?
It's in 2015. It's actually, I dated it, which was unusual too. And I've had other dreams that involved the same direction, where there's always something in the air coming down.
So
Do
this
you know what it looks like, the thing that's coming down?
With that dream, it was like Tetris. It was a ship that was configuring.
And it was in the field?
It was,
That same
it
field?
was up in the, okay, so if we go,
over here.
it was over there.
And that was off field when I was a child.
This is a dream you had before you two.
Oh yeah.
Even knew each other. I didn't even know Kristen then.
And you didn't know anything about her story.
Nope.
And she had no idea that was even a field.
Well, now I'm really wanting to read this journal entry. Should we go read it?
Yes. Long time since I wrote in my gratitude book. Crazy dream last night. Was in the, oh, I got goosebumps. Was in the upstairs bedroom, looking toward Priest House, which is the rectory. Trav with me. 7 told him to look outside. Oh my God, it was a spaceship. If you look directly at it, it was configuring like Tetris. We were 3 of us in a cube. Here we go again, the cube, which opened on top and side. I got out because of claustrophobia. It shut behind me. That's it. The cube. We're talking about the cube again. I saw cubes of glass. They were glass cubes that I saw.
What do you think it is? What does it mean?
Unbelievable.
I don't know what it means.
Since then, you've had similar dreams.
I have had, and I don't know whether it's that location or not, but where I'm running with people getting away from something, and they're all looking up in the air.
I know my sister and I, we used to watch UFOs on East Mountain all the time.
Yeah.
There has to be a connection. There is definitely a portal there. We know that there have been at least 2, perhaps 3 suicides on the street as well. So we don't know what that's all about. There's definitely a lot of phenomena that goes on these streets.
Yeah.
For sure. We both feel we don't know. We don't know what is going on here. It's so close to the river, all of these different places. I just know there's something very weird going on.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
It was so
take
good to
care.
meet you. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
This window right here, where the air conditioner is, that window is the bedroom window. That little gray man would look in that window there, come through that window, and then take me up through that attic door, and then down through the river that way. See the bridge?
Yeah.
The river runs all behind there.
So is the river significant?
Oh, I believe that the river is. We could walk down there and you could see the river too.
In the realm of alien abduction research, there are striking patterns and shared experiences among those who claim encounters. As mentioned before, Dr. John E. Mack, a renowned psychiatrist at Harvard University, delved deeply into this enigma. His rigorous investigations uncovered that many of these individuals, from different walks of life, share eerily similar stories of bright lights, procedures and operations, time lapses, and encounters with beings often described as having large eyes and slender gray frames. These abductees have reported not just fleeting sightings, but detailed narratives of intricate, often emotional interactions. And Melanie's story is consistent with many of the accounts that Max studied.
The whole thing has made me re-examine all of these notions of happen, didn't happen. For them, it is completely real, and it is not the product of mental illness. So something is occurring that is entering our world.
Where are we going now?
I'm going to show you the river. I believe that it has something to do with the portal, and that's always where they would pull me down the river.
Do you remember when you would be taken? You would be
Always
levitating
going down the river.
What do you remember about this river?
I just remember levitating down the river. I have no idea where they were taking me, where I went, but I remember levitating.
How many times do you think it happened?
A lot.
Do you remember where you would go after that?
That part I do not remember. The only time I remember was the 1969 event. I just remember the levitating down the river, and that was a peaceful part. And then coming home, I just remember being in pain in my stomach. And then my parents telling me that it was all in my head. I was crazy. I would be punished. Oh, don't talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. And then my sister would say, she's not lying. I saw it too. I know that it happened.
What did they look like?
They had big eyes, big eyes, and these 2 holes in this little mouth. And like I said, they had hands like this.
So that's what you're describing is very much the kind of stereotype of the Greys or the aliens. Do you think that there's a reason why that's become the stereotype?
I don't know.
What was the conversation like in the media around the time that you were experiencing this? Like, do you remember anything about this in the news or on TV?
My parents didn't have television. They had a black and white TV, but I was a teenager and I was too busy to be bothered with TV.
So anybody who would say, oh, maybe she was just seeing these things on TV
that's
as a kid.
not what we did.
But you don't remember any, like, alien movies or anything?
No, I'm not into those movies. I still am not into those movies.
Right.
I told you, I'm not into that whole ufology thing.
It is a really strange feeling here. There's a weird energy that I feel. As Melanie shared her account of levitating over the river, I couldn't help but question if this really had happened to her. Was she simply having an ultra-vivid, recurring dream? But there seem to be so many strange similarities between abduction cases, and experiencers are convinced they were not dreaming or in sleep paralysis. It also seems that the UAPs being witnessed are not following the same laws of physics that we currently understand as humans. This was even noted several times in the congressional hearings. Maybe there is something extraordinarily advanced at play, including trans-dimensional travel and phenomena beyond 3D reality as we know it.
As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
Or maybe Melanie was just experiencing sleep paralysis for all those years. But who am I to say what really happens?
You don't think after talking to these people that there is some rational, explainable mental condition or mental illness that they're suffering?
There is not any evidence for that. In fact, we've done a study at our program, and there was nothing in the experiencers that suggested mental illness, that they were disturbed in some way, or that there was something that could explain this phenomenon. It's an authentic mystery. We don't know.
Over the years, do you feel like you've gotten any clear answers as to what was going on?
I don't know if it's our government involvement, if it is just UFOs, but I do know that there's some type of a portal here.
That it's
There's
happening.
something involved, because it's not just me. There's other people that were children at the time that had the same thing that happened to them. I don't know where I went or who took me or what it was all about, but definitely I was abducted. I just don't know by whom or what. I'm not saying that they were hurting me, but whatever they were doing when they take me, they would bring me back and I'd be in a lot of pain. My stomach would be in a lot of pain.
So do you think you were being experimented on?
I do. I really think that they were doing something to me. My eyes are damaged, my sinuses are damaged, my intestines are damaged. I have a lot of health issues to this day now.
You have been struck by lightning 3 times. So statistically speaking, getting struck by lightning is very, what are the odds? It's like 1 in a million or something?
Well, they claimed that usually it's very odd to be struck by lightning 1 time, let alone 3 times at Tufts University, the doctors that I had met with. But to be struck 3 times was very unusual. This was our bedroom window right there, where that light is on. And so when I walked home from the lake, this was the route I took.
So that house is where the event happened?
1969 event happened, yeah.
Well,
So
that's where you were living when it happened.
I was living there, yeah.
And
took
you
place.
walked on
This is
this
the road.
road.
This is the road.
As you were walking down this road, do you remember what you were thinking?
I was in shock. I was traumatized. I was really traumatized.
You were probably
It was like, oh, here we go again. And now they're not going to believe me. And here, this is the road, the dirt road that leads to Lake Mansfield. This is a creepy lake, although the city people think it's so wonderful. I watched somebody drown in this lake, a classmate drown in this lake.
Have you been here since we filmed
No,
with Yes Theory?
nope.
What do you feel when you drive by this?
Creepy. It's like, I can't believe people swim here.
This weekend is Labor Day weekend, and September 1st is Friday. How does it feel
To be here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I can't believe that all these people even swim here. But of course, they don't have a clue what's happened here. We watched this young man who had his blanket lying out here even. And he went out on one of those black inner tubes and he totally disappeared. And he never came back. All of his lunch and everything was left on the blanket. And then it took him hours to find him. It was really sad. That was the last time I came here, except for that event that I had to walk home from. Would you come here after you had to witness those two things?
No. When it started to rain, Melanie was not keen on staying at the lake. Yet she wanted to finally make peace with this place that has haunted her for so many years. So we decided to come back again tomorrow. So we just got back to Melanie's, and there's a group of friends here who have come to discuss this topic, including an astronomer named Rick, who has studied the sky here in the Berkshires, and a woman named Wendy, who I first met when we were filming the documentary for Yes Theory, who has had sightings and encounters here as well. I'm sure this is going to be quite an insightful conversation. I'm curious about what your experience has been like hearing Melanie's experiences over the years.
I'm the kind of person who I want to experience, and she says I'm nuts.
He wants to be taken and abducted, and it's not a pleasant. I don't find it to be pleasant. He's been taken and abducted, so you need to talk to him.
What was your experience, Rick?
Which one?
You had many?
Yeah.
Did that lead to you studying astronomy?
Yeah.
When was the first one?
The first one, I was like somewhere around 2 years old. I'm sure if I was younger or maybe a little older than that, not really sure. But we were living in this apartment, sleeping in my crib, and I thought I heard my mother walking in the room. I sat up, and when I sat up, I saw this creature about this tall, maybe 2.5 feet tall or so. And he walked to the doorway, stopped, put his hand on the doorway, turned around, looked at me for about 4 seconds, and then he walked away. I never saw him again. I don't know what happened. I just saw it leaving the room.
So you remember this as a 2-year-old? That's so young.
You know, the thing is, we lived in this apartment for 6 months, and I don't remember anything about the apartment. But if I can draw what it was, looking out my crib and out that doorway.
And that was the only memory you had of that house?
No, yeah, I don't remember anything about that apartment.
Have you ever been back there since?
Only on the outside, never inside.
What happened after? Did you have any experiences later on?
There was another time when I was 38, and this went on for 3 weeks, where they came back, I'd say probably 10 or 12 times. The first 2 nights it happened, I wasn't in bed more than 3 or 4 minutes, and all of a sudden I was paralyzed, and these beings were in my room. There was like, I'd guess like 6 or 7 of them in my room. They talked like, they sound like computers. It was like, I mean, I'm not making the sound, but it's all these different tones that they spoke in, what I heard. Just all these. The problem is I never got to see these guys because my eyes were always closed, or they closed them for me before it stopped, which happened twice. And one time my eyes were just barely open. I could see them going, but I couldn't see what they looked like.
Do you think there was sleep paralysis?
Do I think that?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've read all about that.
What makes you think it's not sleep paralysis?
Because on the 3rd night is when I knew it wasn't. Okay, and the 3rd night they came back and they put something on me from here to here, and it felt like it weighed about 500 or 600 pounds, and it was crushing me. And they were doing experiments. They did everything you can think of. They put a needle in me here. I could feel it wiggling in the center of my, and then when it was all over, I had a needle mark with blood coming out of it. And they poked and prodded me every way you can, and it went on for like, 10 to 12 times in this 3-week period. And
you would wake up with these injuries that were visible?
Yeah.
Did you ever question if it was really happening? Like, is this sleep paralysis, and is this a dream?
Oh, yeah.
And what made you
realize
it wasn't?
I mean, when it happens for 3 weeks, you know it's happening.
What did you do after this was happening repeatedly? Did you tell anybody? Like, did you have...
I didn't tell anybody about this until, I mean, that was 1997 in the fall. I was so afraid to go to sleep.
What prompted you to finally tell someone?
Because I almost died, and I'm like, you know what? I've experienced this. I'm not the only one who experienced it. I know they're out there. I've seen 11 craft in my life. There's no doubt in my mind they're here. I know our government knows it, because I can't know more than our government knows. You know? And that's why I started talking.
It is really tough because there is a lot of BS out there. Then when there's stories that like are crowding and taking away from the real ones, it's really tough to decipher, and then it kind of makes the whole thing hard to believe. We just have to remember that these topics are so nuanced.
My family, we had an experience. We all saw something in the sky, all of us, but maybe we were in a place in that moment where we were able to visually see it.
A friend of mine, I don't know, 7 or 8, 10 years ago, went outside and was looking up at the sky, and she saw these circles in the sky, and so she took her phone out and took a bunch of pictures of it, and then brought it in and put it on her computer. If you look right there,
that doesn't look like anything on the lens or anything. Like
no,
that looks like you can tell it's fully in.
But if you look really close, I mean, there's another one right there. See that little dot?
And you know about the crystals on Monument
Fountain
Mountain.
Pond.
Can you explain to Sky?
Monument Mountain is made of quartz, which has piezoelectric charge. One of the gentlemen that was researching and surveying the area, he said if lightning was to strike Monument Mountain, that it would light up because it has so much quartz. The native peoples, part of their rituals were to bring stones to the mountain, and it's believed that prominent chieftains, I believe is what you would call them, are buried there.
So you think that there's something about the crystals in the land here and the energy that's...
I just think there's more energy here than normal places, and I don't know if it has anything to do with UAPs or being abducted or any of that, but I do know that there's energy here. The native people knew it. The mountain's always been special.
I just need to put on the camera because Melanie was asking Rick, like, if he also had experiences with electricity, and you also got struck by lightning.
Yeah, 2011.
What happened?
Well, I was in this, at my house I built a 3-season sunroom kind of thing, and it was a Florida downpour, just pouring rain with a thunderstorm. And all of a sudden the thunder stopped. I love the sound of rain.
Yeah.
And so I opened up some of the sliding windows, and all of a sudden I heard this incredibly just boom, and it felt like somebody grabbed my wrist. So I looked down and I saw this lightning bolt just go, whoa. It hit me right in the arm. And for like 4 seconds, my arm was arcing like this. It was arcing. And I was looking at it. I remember saying to myself, oh, this isn't going to be good.
Thanks can't be good. Oh my God.
And then it just, I don't know if it went through my body or over my body, but it went here with my chest, out my hand, and then it just threw me backwards on my chair. I just landed on my head, and I was laying on the floor, and I'm like, I think I'm all right. And I called this was after the heart attack and all that, so I called
this was after my heart attack, he says.
Yep. And like they brought the cab, police, fire trucks, and they checked me out. I was all right.
Discussing lightning strikes, it struck me, no pun intended, that being struck even once is incredibly rare, with odds of 1 in 500,000. Curious about the likelihood of 2 out of 5 people in our group having been struck, I consulted ChatGPT, and here's what it revealed. The number it provided was too small to comprehend. So to simplify, that means that the chance of 2 out of 5 people in a group having been struck by lightning is exceedingly close to 0. And not to mention, Melanie's experience of being struck by lightning 3 times has the odds of 1 in 125 quadrillion, which is already an extraordinarily rare occurrence. Good morning, Moses. Good morning, Annie. So this street and this area
is very, very high UFO sightings.
So
right in
a
this area.
lot of people have seen craft here.
Yeah, and in fact, Rick I think he even said he has seen them on Cherry Hill as well. This is Patty Andrews' house that we're in front of. She sees UFOs all the time. That photograph that Henry showed you, or H showed you, that photograph was taken from this house right here.
It's just really fascinating that it seems like this has been going on for decades in this area specifically. So many people over the years.
It was all Native American land.
Other places where the land is known to be sacred by the indigenous have also been known as hotspots for UFOs, like Sedona, Arizona is one, where people see a ton of UFOs in Sedona. It's been held as sacred vision quest land by the natives there for centuries. I don't know, maybe there's some connection between special sacred lands and these UFOs.
I want to find out what is going on. I think that it's important to. The clock is ticking. For me, it's ticking. You have time.
But you have time. You have a good 30 years left.
I hope. I love life, so.
Finally, Melanie was ready to return to Lake Mansfield.
Okay, so see here?
Yeah.
This is where it came. We were up here, sitting in the car, having our ice cream, and all of a sudden, this huge bright light came, glowing. It was just glowing. So scary. So scary. This is all closure for me to come here, to talk about it. It's closure. I'm happy that I'm old now. I'm happy I have nothing left to give them. I don't think that they can take anything else from me. They've taken everything they can from me. I have nothing else to offer them. So I'm not going to let them intimidate me. I'm not going to be afraid of them anymore. I can't be afraid of them anymore.
Diving deep into this topic has been a mind-bending experience. While I still find myself caught between skepticism and belief, I'm convinced these individuals are not lying or seeking attention. I genuinely feel something profound and unsettling happen to them, and it's crucial that we respect them and listen to their stories. Besides exploring Melanie's past, I genuinely enjoyed just hanging out with her, seeing her with her animals and in her garden. I can't help but dream of a similar lifestyle when I'm in my 60s. She's incredibly genuine and spiritually in tune, and our time together taught me so much. If there's anything you want to leave everyone with who's watching, what do you want to share?
I want to share to speak your truth. Always speak the truth. Listen to your children. When your children speak to you, believe them. Don't just push them off and say, oh, they're telling a story. Listen to what their story is.
I love that. I think we all have so much to learn from each other, and listening to each other without judgment is the best place to start. We're super curious to know what you all thought of this video. My request is that we can compassionately talk about this topic together and again, listen to each other. So let us know what you thought. Like this video if you enjoyed it, share it with whoever needs to see this. And that's it for this episode of Sky Life. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.